because I had another video about the study that the VA funded about coronary artery disease and cholesterol monitoring at one particular VISN, which is a VA health network. You have I don't know how many VISNs there are between the U.S. and our territories that have a VA presence. Actually, there's even a few VAs overseas. Very few, but there are some. And it talked about how this particular network paid out $200,000 just to monitor cholesterol checking for veterans, and they did a study and found that this testing actually for a significant portion of them, I don't have the study here, like I said, this is a redone video, but a significant percentage of the veterans who were part of this study and had their cholesterol levels checked regularly had already hit their goals for cholesterol reduction and controlling triglycerides and their HDL, and reached the goal for their LDL, so that it helped control the HDL, and they found that, like I said, a lot of these costs were incurred for veterans that didn't really need the service. And then it got me thinking about all of those, the bulk of a visit is your vitals. Then you got to go to the lab and get blood drawn. Well, there is a plethora of tests out there where people can test this stuff themselves. You got some tests here. You got a lot of stuff here to test cholesterol, total cholesterol, which, I mean, it's not perfect, but at least you know your LDL and your HDL and your triglycerides. And we've also got tests here for monitoring glucose, and some integrate with your phone for your heart. And then you got some that look at the burning of sugar as it's related to triglycerides and other fats within the keto diet, which is basically a diet that kind of manipulates the interaction between fat, glucose, sugar, carbs, to cause the body to burn more sugar and more carbs. So it's manipulation of the same pathways that cause diabetes and hypoglycemia. So we got a keto monitor here, which also looks at ketones, which is something diabetics should check every now and then. If you're throwing too many ketones, it means your insulin is not properly scheduled, not properly being set what you should be injecting. There's a lot of stuff here to test. And fats, again, the cholesterol tests out there. This is the bulk of our visits, is discussing them or getting them tested. And it's really affordable for people to do it at home. If the VA was to help people with high cholesterol or with any kind of, cholesterol problem or low cholesterols, high cholesterols, anything that was CAD related, coronary artery disease, this would be very helpful because people can monitor things real time. If you're checking your glucose once or twice a day, why not check your cholesterols and your triglycerides once or twice a day? It's more real time, it's not real time to a phone like the very advantageous continuous glucose monitor. If you could get one, now you can without a prescription, and it's extremely helpful because everything goes to your phone. You're monitoring yourself after and during every single meal. And again, this is more advantageous to get sugar levels under control because you're seeing things real time while you're eating an hour after, 2 hours after, 3 hours after, right before a meal, right when you wake up, right when you go to bed, in the middle of the night. It's very advantageous, especially if considering the last video I did about the study that some of the writers went out on a limb to actually consider that oral insulin is not helpful. It has a high statistical failure because most of the people who are on it do have disease progression and they end up on injected insulin. If people went directly to injected insulin instead of those pills and they learned how to keep things under control, their study posited that there would be better outcomes because oral insulin does not work. There's a high degree of failure, and as I said before, most of the people end up on injected insulin anyway because those pathways get destroyed because pills are not as effective as something injected directly into the mud, into the blood, not the mud, directly in something injected directly into the blood or into the muscle or into the subcutaneously into the skin. Oral medications, anybody who knows about pharmacology knows that there is a lot of them. Those particular medications that are excreted in urine and in the feces. I mean, as I said in another video, there's some antibiotics that are very helpful, especially when you're overseas, dealing with stuff, water problems, bacterial infections, you name it. But if you take them subcutaneously, they're a lot more effective than if you take them orally and swallow a pill because you lose 40% of the available medication. It never reaches your blood plasma. It goes right out. So, these type of testing in conjunction with early, insulin injection, aggressive, reaction to sugar levels and to the treatment of the ongoing disease to kind of take some of the burden off of those islet cells. I think they're called beta cells. That, so you preserve them longer and the disease progresses slower and maybe somebody doesn't go into full on, stage 2 or stage 3 diabetes, meaning that you've had it for a while, you do several bolus a day, you already have kidney damage, and you have damage to your liver, your heart, etc. So it's just an idea to put health, you see these things all over Asia and the Middle East. The time that I've spent in those two areas of the world, you have a lot more control over your health, a lot more. And you have private medicine, and then you have socialized government hospitals as well, and clinics. You have a lot more control over your health in the Middle East and Asia than we do here. Especially with the VA. Hopefully things will be changed so veterans will get more control, and amongst some of us veterans out there that know personally about how the disruptive behavior reporting system is weaponized. This will give veterans the power, the market. We all believe in the market, be a capitalist. That's a beautiful thing, to make money and to invest in yourself, your community, and to hand that over to your children. That's a great thing. Or to your nieces or nephews. Well, the market would stop something like DBRS dead in its tracks, because if veterans are leaving, $200, $300 a month from a VA, they notice that. People just stop going. They cut ties. The VA will notice that. That reduces their funding, and that makes people think twice about disruptive behavior monitoring system weaponization. And again, this also puts the control of people's health, just for some things, right back in their hands. Just food for thought. A couple $100, yeah, that's a lot. But then again, a couple $100 to buy the unit, and then a couple $100 in testing strips a year. You may or may not get a prescription, but as I said before, some of these things are available over the counter. And you'll find a great deal of these things are made overseas because in our country, we've gotten to the point where we don't give control of some things to the patient. We leave it to an overburdened, sometimes disillusioned, sometimes uncooperative medical system.